Okay, so this is going to be a follow video to my original Insta360 1RS video. That review I will link in the video description if you want to see details on this camera, but I wanted to do a comparison of this camera to the GoPro Hero 10 Black, and just going to limit the clips to the 4K boost module versus the 4K mode on the Hero 10 Black. Sort of try and keep things sort of apples to apples comparisons. Obviously, you know, comparing the single 4K lens of the Hero 10 to the 360 dual lens of the 360 mod wouldn't make any sense in this video, so I'm keeping that out. I don't have a Hero Max, I think it was called, the 360 camera from GoPro, so I'm not able to do any comparisons to the 360 mod. There's probably other videos out there already on that, but basically if you're looking at the modularity of the 1RS, where you can basically swap out the 4K boost mod for a 360 camera mod or a 1-inch sensor mod. This is the 1-inch sensor mod. This has that sort of versatility, that modularity. So you have multiple cameras or multiple capabilities all in the same sort of ecosystem, whereas you have to have separate cameras for GoPro. So you can get the regular Hero 10 Black, or you can get the GoPro Max, which is the 360 camera. And if you look at the pricing, if you get the Twin Edition, which is the 4K boost lens plus the 360 mod, it's $550. So basically you get two cameras, 4K video plus 360 video for about $550. Whereas if you want the similar capability in the GoPro ecosystem, it's going to be about $500 for each camera. So each camera is going to cost you about $500. So it is it's about half the price for about the same amount of capability, but you get two cameras instead of, you get basically 2-in-1. You can swap out the modules versus two separate cameras in the GoPro system. And yes, I'm aware that you can also get discounts if you get a GoPro subscription. I'm not taking that into account because there isn't something equivalent on the Insta360 side, so there's no real way to do a sort of fair comparison in terms of pricing. But you also keep in mind that if you do the subscription, you have to basically re-up every year. Right now it's $49 a year, and who knows what's going to be next year. So I know that they're trying to get people into the subscription model at a lower cost now, but I'm pretty sure it's going to go up later. So it's kind of hard to really gauge what that pricing is going to be. Now, just looking at it from the 4K camera perspective, if you just want the 1RS with the 4K module only, if you're not interested in any 360 video, it's going to be $299. And if you just want the Hero 10 by itself, no subscription, it's going to be $499. So basically $300 versus $500 in terms of the pricing difference between the two cameras. From a specs perspective, the 1RS 4K boost mod comes with a 1/2-inch sensor, and the Hero 10 comes with a 1/2.3-inch sensor, so it is a little bit smaller. Now the Hero 10 Black does have a 5.3K mode for 5.3K video, which the 1RS does not have, so I'm not going to be doing a 4K to 5.3K comparison in this video because there's no 5.3K video mode in the 1RS. So if you're looking for 5.3K video, then obviously the Hero 10 Black has got an advantage there. Now, for the purposes of this comparison between the video clips I'm going to be showing you between the 1RS and the Hero 10 Black, it's going to be set up exactly like this here. I think some of the clips are going to be from the drone here. This is the Roma F7. I need a big quad to hold both cameras. It's a lot of weight. But I have this setup here where the 1RS is going to be on top and the Hero 10 Black is going to be on the bottom for all the clips to set up with, so I can get the lenses as close as possible, so I can get as close as possible in terms of a side-by-side comparison of the video, so you can actually see what the differences are in terms of the video performance between the two cameras. And I'm limiting everything to 4K 16:9 and 30 frames per second. So you can go crazy and go compare all the different resolutions and frame rates and all that, and this video will be just way too long if you go into all that nitty-gritty. What I'm trying to do is sort of compare what is like the easiest and quickest way to get good video out of the cameras, And so these are basically like all auto settings, no manual controls, basically no fuss. Like you just basically leave everything in auto. You turn on the camera, you hit the record button, and what you get is what you get. So the profile, the color profile on the One RS is the vivid color profile, and then on the GoPro it's the vibrant color profile. So those are, it's going to be basically the most saturation, the most contrast out of the cameras. And so that's basically, basically no color, no color grading, no fancy editing, just like, okay, what can we get out of the cameras without doing a lot of work? And that's what I've set in terms of the settings. It's all auto, and those are the two color profiles. In terms of the field of view, I've got it set to ultra wide on the One RS, and on the Hero 10 it is set to super view. So super view is probably going to be the most commonly used because it's going to give you the most vertical and horizontal field of view out of the Hero 10, and ultra wide is going to give you the most vertical and horizontal field of view in the 4K 16:9 mode. In terms of the in-camera stabilization, the Hero 10 is using Hyper Smooth Standard, and the One RS is using Flow State Stabilization set to High. Okay, so now with all that out of the way in terms of setting up the clips here, let's go ahead and get right into the video clips. So the thing I want to show you here right off the bat is a field of view, differences between the two cameras. Obviously, I'm showing you here side by side, and I would pay attention to the edges of the frame. If you're looking at the One RS field of view, you get a wider horizontal field of view compared to the GoPro, but the GoPro will give you a wider vertical field of view compared to the One RS. Now, interestingly, while you have a wider horizontal field of view on the One RS, you don't have as much fisheye effect on the sides compared to the GoPro. So the GoPro on the left and the right edges, you get basically straight lines get very curved and warped, but they don't seem as much that way on the lens for the One RS. It seems more straight up and down, but you get a wider field of view horizontally, and the edges seem to be more straight up and down on the One RS. So if we take a look at some clips here of side-by-side footage, now focusing on the center part of the image, but at full resolution. So basically I have both cameras side by side at 100%, but we're just looking at the center part of the image, which is going to be basically the least amount of distortion. It's going to give you the full vertical field of view that you can compare. And I'm kind of looking here at the sort of the image quality and the color science. If you look at these sort of side by side, if we compare the color science, the vibrant versus the vivid, very similar. On the One RS, the overall image does seem like it's a little bit overexposed, or maybe on the white balance is a little bit skewed to the cooler side. Like for example, yellows seem to be a lot brighter. The blues also seem to be a bit brighter as well compared to the GoPro. But overall, it's not terrible. I mean, it's very close between the two. It's just I'm just kind of pointing out here some of the little differences that I'm noticing. So I do want to stress here that I'm using no ND filters here, and everything is set to auto. So auto white balance, ISO, shutter speed, etc. And I did not use any ND filters on any of the cameras. So obviously you can get better results for each of these cameras if you go into the manual settings and do a lot of tweaking, and you can definitely personalize it to the way you want and get the look that you're looking for. But I wanted to again just use the camera as if you're giving the camera to someone that's a beginner, and they just want to press the record button and just get some decent video without a lot of fuss. So taking a closer look at some of these clips here side by side, I do want to point out another thing that I'm noticing here is that if you look at the details and the highlights down in the bricks on the ground, it seems like there's more contrast on the GoPro versus the One RS. It's a little bit kind of muddied or washed out, a little less detail in the bricks and the ground. It's not terrible, but if you look at it side by side, you can definitely see a difference. I'm thinking that the contrast is a little bit higher out of the camera in auto settings on the GoPro versus the One RS. And also, if you look at the highlights in the clouds in the sky, there's definitely more detail in the clouds on the GoPro versus the One RS. And again, I think it's because the difference in the way the contrast is being handled inside the camera. There's less contrast in the image coming out of the One RS versus the GoPro. And again, if we actually blow up the image here to 200% and do a little bit of pixel peeping and look at the image in more detail, this effect is more noticeable. It's just that you don't have as much detail and image information on the One RS versus the GoPro, but I think again it is because of the extra contrast that's being produced in camera on the GoPro versus the One RS. Now, one thing to note regarding the level of detail in the images here, while both of these are 4K resolution video, the GoPro is recording at about 100 megabits per second in terms of the bit rate, while the One RS in the normal video mode is recording about 80 megabits per second. So not quite as much information is being captured in the same video container at 4K. Now the active HDR video mode will give you 100 megabits per second of video bit rate. I didn't want to do that comparison to the GoPro because I think that would be a fair comparison because the GoPro doesn't have an active HDR mode, so it wouldn't be like a sort of a apples to apples comparison. Basically, when you go to the active HDR mode on the One RS, if you go back to my original review video, it just brings out a little bit more details in the shadows. It doesn't really make much difference in the highlights. It just brings out more details in the shadows. That's my opinion on that. If you disagree, let me know down in the comments what you guys think. But yeah, if you want to see a video on that, because it honestly wouldn't be a fair comparison, let me know, because that does record at 100 megabits per second. So that would be equivalent, but the video quality is completely different in active HDR mode versus regular video mode. So I didn't want to do that comparison for this video because I don't think that's an apples to apples comparison to what's coming out of the GoPro. So I think that's going to be it for this video. Overall, in my opinion, the video quality on the One RS with the 4K boost mod is much improved over the old One R. Just a bigger sensor, much better detail overall in the video image. It just looks much better compared to the old sensor and much closer to what you're going to get out of the GoPro. A lot of these, side-by-side comparisons, you can't really tell a whole lot of difference unless I'm trying to point out specifically the differences. And the things do come out here in terms of the way the field of view is handled for each of the cameras and the distortion that's produced. Those are noticeable differences, but again, that's kind of comes down to a preference thing. Some people will like more distortion. Some people want everything to be nice and straight up and down. It really kind of depends on what kind of video you're taking and what kind of purposes you're using the videos for. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Which ones look better to you? What could be better? What could be improved? I would be interested in hearing your feedback down in the comments section. I do want to let you guys know that Insta360 is having a spring sale now from, I think, starting today till April 21st. Some of their cameras and some of their older models are being discounted currently, and I will actually put them on the screen here, what those are. Check out those links down in the video description. I'll put those in there if you want to check out the updated prices for the spring sale. I will have another video a little bit later when I do get the ND filters for the One RS, because I know you guys are interested in that and how to get better video, with the manual settings and the ND filters when using it on an FPV drone. So that'll be coming up in a future video. That's going to do it for this one. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.